Called in to your management facilities and your clearinghouses and your hotlines about the noise. Why is that the number one thing? And that is, it's not about water runoff, it's not about icing. I know about your de-icing and your issues and how far it went in Georgia Mountain. I know about the icing and the feathering and all that. But what you really get, most of all, is people pick it up and say, I can't stand it, it's so damn loud, get somebody out there. And the response time is so long that the incident has basically passed. Why is it that that's your number one? If everybody knows what the rules are and we're inside the rules, then why is everybody doing it?
Well, first of all, we want to be inside the rules and we want people to let us know. Right. So if people are calling, then we have an obligation under the law to inspect it. Now, you're talking about...
Okay, so my next question for you. When you put sound monitoring equipment on the ground in location, will you specifically detail where you put them?
We have done that in the past, and we have deferred to community input as to where sound monitoring equipment should be.
Because I went on a little trip today at and where some of the sound monitoring, now this is our
they say that they respond, and Larry LaRusso has been complaining about Hoosac Wind.
But, you know, that they put,
don't do it if you're okay.
And we want to be out of mine. We want to test it, so we're out of mine. See that ravine down there between those trees? That's where the sound monitoring equipment was. It wasn't up here in the clearing.
Okay.
You know, that there's preferential treatment to the placement of the sound monitoring equipment to get a desired result. So
my understanding of that, and you know, I can certainly double check to how it was executed. My understanding is that the sound monitoring equipment was based on community input saying, here's where it should be, here's where I want it to be, and that's when the equipment.
Well, yes, and that did happen.
Okay.
And I verified that.
Okay.
But that's within a, you know, like it should be near this home.
Right.
You know, so when you go off Hoosac and you go to, he's no longer with us, a guy by the name of Jack Alexander, he was the closest dwelling.
Okay.
1,300 feet. You know, it should be somewhere in here. And as a result, yes, it was somewhere in there. It was in a corner behind the building. You know, and that kind of stuff that's going on. And I just want to make sure that the people of Grafton have the opportunity to know exactly where you place it. Sure. You should almost stake it and flag it.
And that's been my impression as to how that was conducted. So if there's one behind the house or that for some reason isn't capturing a representative sound model, then nobody's interested in that.
Are you aware of what Jack Alexander?
You're not interested.
Yeah, I am aware of the whole story, yes. And I just was being respectful, but yes, I am, very much.
Are you aware of Jack Alexander?
Well, I don't want to, we probably all are, and that's very unfortunate, but I don't think that needs to become part of this conversation.
Well, I am wondering for the people who are living around your project in Massachusetts, like Larry LaRusso, he's filed a complaint recently, and he says that it's not being responded to.
I read the complaint today at his kitchen table. Okay?
So tell us about Larry.
I mean, I don't know the latest about
Why not?
Why don't I know?
Why
about
don't
Larry's
you know?
latest complaint?
Well, why are people complaining around that project and not getting any response?
I mean, my understanding is we have an obligation to respond to folks who call in with a question or an issue.
And I read the response today that was on Mike's kitchen table.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. I read it.
Okay.
It didn't do a darn thing to address the issue.
Okay.
Well,
right.
so
these things need to be addressed. I want to. First of all, I want to go on the record saying I'm not anti-wind. I'm anti the scale of this project and this community. I absolutely am. This needs to be scaled back. Okay. It definitely does. 505 feet tall, 96 megawatt until last night. In this area is larger than anything that's been done in the state of Vermont. Lowell is 64 megawatts, 21 turbines, 450 feet tall. So when you do the compounding math of 450 to 505, and 21 until last night was 28, and 64 to 96 megawatts, essentially, you could hypothetically argue if you wanted to twist the figures, and I don't. But if I wanted to be a figure twister, I could say this is twice the size of Lowell. Well, I don't believe it's twice the size of Lowell. But the compounding effect of the factors would say that it may just be that.
Right.
And you have to look at, we need renewable energy. We need communities that can live in a sustained fashion, protect their culture, protect their commerce. This is a tourist town. It's not that people don't want to see anything on that ridge. They just don't want to see that ridge take over the culture, the economy, and the environment of this area in such a negative way that all the people who bought into it regret it. And I can tell you, I know a lot of people who can't say anything, and they say, all I can tell you is I regret that I can't talk to you. And I've met a lot of those as well. So it needs to be scaled properly. I am in the bottom of my heart ready to support anything that's scaled properly, anything that makes good economic sense. You and I both know that the most current research says that 4% of Vermont's carbon footprint is due to the production of electricity. So if you look at all the solar initiatives and all the wind initiatives, and all of that is addressing 4% of our carbon footprint when they're operating at their expected capacity, which oftentimes they don't. When we're done, we may reduce our carbon footprint by 2%. The cost, culturally, economically, to the state of Vermont, which, by the way, this isn't just any ordinary state. This is not northern New Jersey. It's not Delaware. You know, it's not Massachusetts. This is one of the last places in this country where you have this kind of environment and this kind of habitat. It's critical that in the United States that we protect what Vermont has worked so hard to create and keep the rest, the rest of the world is caved. You go into New Hampshire. I lived in Keene 40 years ago. Keene looked a lot like Newfane almost. But now Keene looks like a suburb of Wilmington, Delaware. That's happening everywhere. Vermont has worked really hard not to allow that to happen here. You need to work with Vermont in regards to that, and this needs to be scaled back. If this were to be scaled back, there are a lot of people in this town who are vehemently opposed to it that might look at it very differently. I would be one of those people. Because I know we need that energy. But this is out of proportion.
Can you explain to me what a vision of yours might be that is a proper scale?
I have been to some wind facilities where the infrastructure needed to build those is minimal compared to this. Searsburg, even Hoosick is a lot smaller than this. I've been to Lowell, and when I went to Albany, and I went to Eden Road and Bailey Hazen Road, and I talked to the guys on New Street and Old Street and the farmers, and I talked to a guy who says, I live 5 miles away, and in the winter, it pounds the side of my house because the air is so clear, so dry. In the winter you go like this and you can hear it go a mile and come back. And he said, when I'm watching the Super Bowl, and I got to turn the damn game off, and I live 5 miles from the turbines, that's bad scale.
So
and the topography, which you guys obviously get, is a key piece with that. Now in Albany, the topography is very different than it is here. You come down off Lowell Ridge, and you come into Albany, and it gets low, and then comes back up. So this guy that's 5 miles over there, he's on the other side of the amphitheater. Okay, so that's it. So he's going to get it 5 miles away. You're not going to get it 5 miles away here. I realize that. I'm 3 miles away, and I don't think I'm going to hear a thing. But I do know that as the principal that used to run this school, I have a bunch of kids who are still going to school here, who live down Townsend Road, that I am in serious state of concern. And a couple of them have some, and I've talked to Jeremy about one particular student in general who's going to be living a mile from one of the turbines, and it's going to be a disaster for this kid with significant issues. And I said to Jeremy, I said, that's a turbine that needs to be moved back. If nothing else, if that were your daughter, you would demand that it be moved. So Lowell's, to me, Lowell would be big for here. And this is even
Lowell's 21, right?
Lowell's 21 at 450 feet tall, 64 megawatts. This is now 24, was 28 at 500. That's 50 and a half stories tall. It's too cost. It's too big. I would rather see those numbers get cut in half and the turbines get cut in half and call it a nice day and see where we can go from there. And if it's successful, there could be a phase 2. And if the community says, and this might be a good thing for Iberdrola to think about, we're going to cut this thing in half and do it phase 1. We're going to let it run for 5 years. We're going to come back to the community and see how they feel. And if the community says we overreacted, phase 2.
Right. Or not.
Or not.
Right.
Or not. But when you slam dunk a community and the community can't handle it, that's just a shame. And I don't. And I'm against the project, obviously, but I'm not necessarily against wind.
Okay.
And I'm not against solar either.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't want to see nuclear. But okay, it's a good conversation. Thank you for trying to answer the question.
I'm trying. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the testing for the decibel level, is there any compensation or adjustment for if there are trees?